What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. This is Sid Sr. speaking, and I'll be your tour guide today as we take a detailed look at the Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Ractonite. So as we always do here, we'll move him out of the way and we'll bring that packaging in so we can get a nice close look at that. So you see up there at the top, we have Ractonite, Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron. We have all the Kingdom artwork on the side. We have your product shots on the back. Yes, he is a weaponizer or fossilizer in this case. We have the side artwork with Deluxe Class down there at the bottom. And of course, we will tilt that so you can get a nice look at that artwork. Up here at the top, we have War for Cybertron K15. On the bottom, we have words and phrases. You thought I forgot. Sad baby. All right, now let's talk about what came in that packaging. First, we'll start with the insert. Same as they always are, not a whole lot to see there. We get your fire starter. We get a Kingdom collector's card. I got Dinobot again. I am swimming in Dinobot cards. My cup runneth over on Dinobot cards. And you get the instructions. Much like the review for Paleo Treks, I will tell you now I will be referring to these instructions. They'll be off camera, but if you hear the shuffling of paper, it's because I'm looking at these. Although I've played with this guy quite a bit, I want to make sure that I show you everything properly and I don't miss anything. So, let's go ahead and bring Mr. Ractonite in and get him in here for his close-up. So right there, you've got that head sculpt. Come on, focus for me. There you go. So you've got those nice red eyes in there. You've got that black mouth. Good chest detail. I do like the paint apps on this guy. They've done a good job making it look like he's weathered. Get that arm out of the way. You've got a dino crotch. And you've got the legs and the feet. You do have, again, just like with Paleo Treks, this is an asymmetrical design, so we'll take a look at those shoulders individually. This is part of his back and spinal column when he's in Dino mode. Got the arms. Got his tail weapon, as a lot of these guys have. Now, you do have the Dino head over here. One thing that I do want to point out, and this was really disappointing, and it hasn't happened to me often, is I'm missing a horn. He came out of the box missing a horn. These horns are removable, so you can use them in the weaponizer modes, and I'm missing one. That's really disappointing. Another strike on this guy is this horn right here is supposed to come out, so you can utilize that in different modes. And I'll tell you now, I'm not going to take this out because I've taken it out once and I put it back in and I thought I was going to break this guy and I thought I was going to mar him up because I had to use tools to pry this out and to get it back in. Very tight fit, way tighter than what it should be. So just want to get that out of the way now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the back. Good detailing on the back of the head. Good weathering look. He does have his insignia right there on his side. All right, so let's talk about articulation on this guy. He, again, being a weaponizer, being like Paleo Treks, he is highly articulated. You can do almost anything that you want to do with this guy because of all the different joints and the fact that he literally comes apart. So there are very few limitations on this guy. His head is on a ball joint, but it's a ball joint inside the chest cavity. It's not inside the head itself. So if you look close, you get the side to side and the up down, but it's happening down there below the neck, down in the chest. And you do get a full 360 there. He does have a visor that opens and closes. So there's closed, there is open. And that is for partly for the weaponizer modes as well. So for his left shoulder, you get a full 360. The shoulder can come straight out like that. way up high, so he can be that kid in class. Pick me, pick me. And of course, you have that additional joint right there, so you can get some pretty crazy action going on. You have the bicep swivel, and you do have over 90 degrees on bicep right there. You can bend his arm back if you choose to, and if you want to, you can utilize this joint right here, which is used primarily for his dyno mode. Nothing at the hands. I will point out, again, this is another little strike. You do have these posts on this guy, but there's no wrist swivel, there's no tilt, anything like that. These are just fixed, and frankly, if he's not holding a weapon, that's just disappointing. Anyway, on to the right shoulder. So you can come out that far before it interferes with the head. You do get a full 360. You can go all the way around with this guy. You get the bicep rotation, limited only by the jaw, depending on how open you want that jaw to be. You could go full 360 on there. And again, you know, these arms / legs do pop out. You get your elbow bend, way over 90 there, and same thing, you've got a secondary joint right here that you utilize if you need to. You do get waist swivel. The hips, you can do the full Van Damme, and actually beyond if you tilt that. Now you can get him into some nice origami pretzel modes. You have thigh rotation. You get right at 90 knee bend, and you have ankle tilt, a severe amount of ankle tilt, so good posability there. All right, now, normally at this point I would talk about effects compatibility, but there's not a whole lot with this guy. It's kind of a disappointment, but I understand because he becomes a weapon, so why are you going to worry about putting effects on this guy? So we're going to skip over the effects portion, and we're going to get right to the transformation on this guy. He does have these ports right here if you wanted to use those for effects, but there's really not a lot of fun factor there for those. So let's go ahead and get him transformed into his dyno mode. So if you haven't already done so, close his, get that post down, close his face mask, and now you can go about this a couple of different ways. What I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm just going to pop that waist off. I'm going to put that off to the side. I'm going to pop this shoulder off, and I'll take that arm off, and I will pop this shoulder off and take this forearm off as well. Now I'm going to hang on to both of these forearms because right here on his torso, down here, you're going to plug those right in, just like that. So if you don't already see where this is going, you can get an idea. These are going to be his front legs, and then you just bend those posts back so that way he has his flat feet. Now you can set this off to the side for now, or if you want, you can just go ahead and put the head on. And then come over here to this was his left shoulder, which is part of his spine. So open this up and tilt that post down. Should have something that resembles that. Now you can take the legs that you had just removed. These will actually be his rear legs, and you're just going to plug them in right here. So plug those in, give it a nice press fit, and you've got a post here, you've got a port here. Let's put those guys together and make some dyno magic. And now you're almost in the home stretch. You're just going to bend those legs as you see fit. Put the tail on, bring that tail out, and you have Ractonite in his dyno mode. All things considered, this is not a bad looking dyno mode. This is very similar to what I was saying about Paleotrex. I like the dyno modes a lot more than I like the robot modes. I'm not a fan of asymmetrical robot designs. If only he had another horn, which I will be printing one off on the 3D printer so I can have that look. But yeah, overall, I like the look of this guy in Dino mode way more than his robot mode. So let's bring him in. We'll get some details in Dino mode. And it, of course, ignoring the horn there. But you can see the detail work on the skull, which looks really nice. You got those red eyes in there. You got teeth on the jaw. Nice weathering effects. Good look on those legs. Up here at the top. This all looks really nice. I like that. The only thing to me that seems a little off is this is a softer plastic. Of course, toy makers have to do that now, so I guess so people can't hurt themselves or maybe hurt themselves less. But anything that's considered a weapon, they make out of a softer plastic. So I'm going to chalk that up to this being a completely different material than the rest of this. But there is a color difference there. But there is the top. There is the bottom. And while I have him in this mode, I'm going to do a couple of comparisons with him. So what I'm going to do is I will bring in his kingdom mate, who I also like in the Dino mode much better. So let's go ahead and we'll bring in Mr. Paleotrex, and we'll put those two guys side by side. So you can see that. That's a pretty good look right there. Those two guys look pretty great. I think I would have preferred, of all things, maybe Ractonite being a little darker and Paleotrex being a little bit lighter. If they could have kind of met in the middle from a coloring standpoint there, I think that would have looked pretty good. So yeah, that looks pretty good. This is how these guys are going to be displayed on my shelf. I'm not going to have them in their robot mode. I'm going to have them in their Dino mode on my shelf. All right, and just for fun, we will. I'll leave Paleotrex in there, and we'll bring in Barney, so you can see how that works out. So that's pretty cool. I know I'm getting a lot of light exposure on Ractonite, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a little bit of contrast there, so you can see him a little bit better next to these guys. But yeah, that looks pretty good. There's a lot of fun to be had right here. All right, so let's go ahead and move Barney out of the way. We'll move Paleotrex out of the way. And let's start talking about the weaponizer mode on this guy. So before I get started, we will introduce today's guest. Today's guest is Hound. The instructions call for using the Huffer figure for the weaponizer modes, but I don't have a Huffer yet. So Hound has volunteered to come in and help us out. So everybody give Hound a hand. Yay. Thank you, Hound. All right. So this is the paper shuffle. Let's talk about all these weaponizer modes, shall we? All right. So the first thing that you have to do is you need to start taking this guy apart. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to rip his head off. You're going to take his tail off. You're going to pull him apart right there. You're going to rip his pelvis out. You're going to rip his legs out of his pelvis. You're going to rip his legs out of his ribs, his rib cage, chest area. And you're left with that. So now the fun part, let's just put it all back together, right? Hey, that's easy. So let's take the chest, and you're going to pull that open and rotate it like that. Then you're going to turn this around so you have something that looks like that. Now you're going to take one of these big old legs. You're going to turn the post. Sorry, no you're not. I've got the wrong leg. No, I don't. I have the right leg. Sorry, guys. I swear I've done this before. You're going to take this port and put it in this post. I was trying to do it the other way around. I was trying to put a post in a port, and it's not going to work that way. So, All right, so let's take that and put that in there. As soon as I get that lined up. All right, so you've got something that looks like that. Now grab the pelvis and spin both of the hips out. And then you're going to plug this in. And then you're going to take the spine, the back vertebrae, if you will. You're going to close this up. You're going to poke that out. You're going to take it, and you are going to put it on that port. Yep, I say that. There we go. So you're going to put it on that port. Stay. All right. Now I'm going to spin this around so I have it in the correct orientation. Now you have the big, incredibly heavy hammer of death that Hound is going to try to wield for us. So let's put your joints to the test, Hound. And take your big hammer of death. Uh-oh, that's not working, is it, Hound? Oh boy, I guess you're just going to have to do something like that. So he's going to be really slow with this weapon, but if he hits you with it, you're going to feel it. So huge hammer of death as wielded by a Hound. And the poor guy does not want to stand up. He's just going to flop down. All right, so let's go ahead and get this back off. Thank you, Hound. We'll set you off to the side for a moment. Let's go ahead and take everything apart again. Take the leg out of there. Take the spine off of there. All right, so now we've got everything sort of ish back where it should be. Now, this is where, for the next mode, the instructions want you to take both of these horns off. Well, I don't have both of the horns, so I'm just going to take the one off. Then you're going to take these legs. Normally you would take two of these with two of these horns, and you would plug the horn in. Then you're going to take the pelvis, and you're going to plug the legs into the pelvis. Find my other good leg here. There it is. All right, then you're going to take one of these hands and you're going to plug it in to the pelvis. Orient it about like that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to plug this onto Hound's back. So most of the, if not all, of the figures in the Siege, Earthrise, and War for Cybertron line will have this port on the back. So the idea here is for the weaponizers that you could utilize any figure in the line if you want to. So make sure you have this little post sticking out of the bottom of the foot, and then just align that with Hound's back. Close his backpack up, and then you have something along this line. Well, let me turn that around. There we go. It'll work better if I actually had it oriented properly. There, that's much better. And let's spin the legs around too. Uh-oh. Hound down. He's not up to the task, guys. I'm sorry. So you should have something that looks like that. Maybe a little more lined up and symmetrical. Come on, Hound. Stand up for me, buddy. You can do it. He is just not wanting to stand up. There we go. Okay, so you should have something that looks kind of like that. Now you're going to give him the big murder sword. So in order to do the big murder sword, you are going to take the chest. You're going to grab one of these, the only other little foot that you have. You're going to push that post out, straighten it as best you can. You're going to plug it in. You have a post there, port here. You're going to plug that in to that. and then you're going to bring it down, and it's going to fit right into this little cavity right here. And you're not really going to hear a snap as much as you're just going to feel it getting snug in there. So you should have something that looks like that. Now you can take the tail. On the back of his head, he has a post that you're just going to pull out. Put the tail in there. And now you have this murder sword that you can give Hound, because if he didn't already have some really heavy stuff in his hand, well, now's a perfect opportunity. So make sure that everything's lined up here, because I didn't feel real confident in that. And come on, Hound, don't let me down, buddy. There you go. So now Hound is wielding a ginormous sword of murder. Back him up a little bit so you can see it. All right. Now for the last two pieces that you have, again, you've got a little bit of the spine left and you have the head left. For these, you're just going to plug them in onto his side, or his shoulders, excuse me. So right here on the right hand, you can just plug this in. Gonna move the sword of murder out of the way. And over here on his forearm, right here, you're going to plug in the dino skull and then angle that how you like. So now you have Hound all weaponized up and I guess ready to deal some Jurassic justice on someone, I guess. All right, so now we will get to the third and final mode per the instructions. So let's go ahead and do the opposite of what we just did. Let's take everything off of Hound, and he may fall while I'm doing this, and well, that's just how it is. This is a considerable amount of weight to be putting on the little guy. Take all that apart. You're almost done, buddy. You're doing great. You should be proud of yourself. All right, so for the next mode, let's go ahead and take this tail off. Now gotta take the head off. You're gonna take this chest. You are going to collapse the chest back in. If this is still sticking out, you can go ahead and close that. Now, this is going to be a mace of murder. I don't have enough horns to make this a true mace of murder, so I'm going to have to improvise here. So once you get all this collapsed in, put that off to the side. For the skull, per the instructions, they want you to take both horns off and then take the nose horn off. I'm not going to take this nose horn off. It's not going to happen again because I'm going to end up breaking this or marring it up. So this is where we improvise. I'm not going to use this horn either. I am, just for fun, because it looks cool, I'm going to use my effects parts. You don't get to use many effects parts for this guy, but this time around, I'm totally going to do it. So, on this piece, you're going to have 3 ports. There, there, and there. You're going to put those on just like that. Then you're going to grab the pelvis, and you have to take everything off of there. Straighten the pelvis out. And you are going to plug the pelvis into this port right there. Turn that around so it's clear of the head. And now you have this big mace of murder. So let's go ahead and bring Hound back in. And I like this better. This is almost lightsaber style mace of murder. You're gonna kill him with fire, which I think is way cooler than killing him with keratin horns anyway. So hold it, Hound. Hold it. Yes. Okay. Now, next step. You're gonna take the skull. We're gonna pretend this horn is gone. You're going to take the skull, you're going to open that up, widen that jaw so you can get this post. Then you're going to take one of the feet and you're going to plug that foot in to that post. Now, you've got this little knee knuckle area that's sticking out right there. You should be able to, when you close this jaw up, that should fit right in the notch in the jaw. So, kind of a guide to help you with your orientation on there. Then, once you have it configured as such, go ahead and take the tail weapon, plug it in, and now you have the dagger of murder, and you have the fire mace of murder, and the dagger of death. I like dagger of death better. We're going to call this the dagger of death and the fire mace of murder. And then you can just plug that in right there. Or, of course, you can plug it into his hand. He's awfully heavy. It's making me nervous. Oh, you can plug it into his shoulder. Let's try that one. That looks pretty cool. Or, like I said, plug it into his hand. I just don't think he's going to hold it very well. Well, there's no thinking. I know he won't because I did this earlier and I know that it's really heavy. So, you have the dagger of death and the flaming... Oh, I like that better. The flaming mace of justice. Yes. Dagger of death, flaming mace of justice. Anyway, guys, so you've got a bunch of leftover parts. You don't really use them in this mode. So, you know, you have these that you're not going to use. But I'm down to clown with Dagger of Death and Flaming Mace of Justice. I'm okay with that. All right. Now, let's get him back in his robot mode and bring him in for some comparisons and wrap this thing up. So, go ahead and... Let's see. Let's take the Dagger of Death out of his hand first. And the Flaming Mace of Justice. You can go there. I salute you, sir. Thank you for your service. Godspeed. All right. Let's take those effects parts out. Get those out of the way. So, hey, you can have fun with effects with this guy. It's just not conventional. All right. So, pull the pelvis out. Doesn't belong there anyway. Take the tail off. Well, pull the leg out of the mouth, then take the tail off. And if you want, go ahead and get his pelvis and crotch ready. And so just what I do, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but this is just something that if you see me messing around, what's going on is for the legs and the arms, you have a finished side and you have the open side, you know, where they saved a little bit of plastic. So what I try to do is I try to orient so the open side is facing inward, so that way when you're looking at the figure from the outside, you see the finished sides of the stuff. So if you see me looking at something and fiddling around, what I'm doing is I'm looking for the open side or the finished side. Just, I guess, a little background on what's going on. So there you have his lower body. Pretty straightforward. Then you can just take his chest, turn that head around, lift his visor up, plug him in, and then you're down to your base components again. If you want, you can take your one remaining horn, or in this case mine. Hopefully you'll have two. Take the horn, put it on there. Now you have this post right here. You're just going to plug it into that port on the chest, and you have his right shoulder ready. Then you'll take this spinal component and tilt that post down. Plug it into that port right there. It should be oriented that way because you're going to plug the forearm in right here. And then, so what I do for these arms is not only am I looking for the open area, but I'm also looking for that elbow bend. So in this case, I know this is going to be the one that I use on the right arm. So you're going to open that jaw up, get that post, plug it in, and ta-da, Then you're going to do the same thing over here. Plug it in. Ta-da! And for his ridiculous, useless, tiny little hands, my least favorite part of this guy, just take the tail weapon and plug it in one of those. You know, it would have been great. I'm going to gripe for a second, because it would have been great if they would have made these ports a right size where you could have used an effect part or something else. I understand, you know, that you needed a nice robust peg and nice robust ports for all the pulling apart and rebuilding that you're going to do for this guy. But come on, guys, that's just ugly. That's lazy. It's not even textured or anything down here. You're going to be seeing that in robot mode, and it's disappointing. I'll stop my griping. So anyway, there you have Ractonite back in his robot mode. And now what we'll do is we will bring in the robot comparisons, and really this is, as we always do with the Kingdom guys, we're just going to build the Kingdom family around him so you can see him compared to the rest of the boys. So we will start, as we always do, with Barney. We saw him in Dino mode next to each other, but there he is in robot mode. And we'll move him on back and figure out how we're going to arrange him shortly. Next, we'll bring in Mr. Cyclonus. Robot mode to robot mode. Next, we will bring in Mr. Dinobot. Bring him in. Let's put him over by Megs. I like him over by Megs. I might put him in the back. Yeah, let's do that. Next, we will bring in Mr. Inferno. And we'll bring Inferno and put him in the back as well. Maybe line him up like that. Next, we'll bring in Optimus Primal. And you know what? Let's bring these guys forward a little bit where we can differentiate. It's starting to get really busy back there. And we'll bring Optimus Primal back. Next, we will bring in Mr. Warpath. And we'll put Warpath over here next to Megs. Try to get some color contrast so that way you can still see everybody. Next, we will bring in Mr. Cheetor, he of the tiny feet. Let's bring in Black Arachnia, she of the technically 10 feet, because she's got the 2 there and the 8 there, if you see what I'm saying. And we'll just bring her back here. And then we'll go ahead and we'll bring in Paleotrex in his Dino mode, which always looks great. And we'll park him right there. We already saw those guys lined up next to each other in Dino mode, so let's bring Ractonite right there and get P-Trex right there. Looks like he's eating Warpath's head right there. That's a great shot. Like it. All right, then let's bring in the core guys. So let's bring in the OG OP. Bring in the other little fossil man, Vertebrake, and bring in Rat Trap. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, to wrap it up, guys, let's talk about my verdict on Ractonite. How do I say this? He has his fun points, but I don't think I enjoy this figure anywhere near as much as I do Paleotrex. I think my opinion on Ractonite is he could be a pass. I just, he's okay. But, you know, and maybe it's just my copy and the personal feelings that I have about it that's clouding my judgment. But the fact that I'm missing a horn and one horn won't come out with me almost destroying the Dino head, it just doesn't fly for me. And not in this day and age with all the quality control and all the processes that can be done, designed for manufacturing, everything like that, that that can be implemented to make sure that mistakes like this don't happen on the main line. This is Hasbro. This isn't some cheap third-party company. This is a big name. They shouldn't be letting quality control issues like that happen. So that's really souring me the most on this figure. Secondarily, his robot mode is just ugly. I don't like it. I like the Dino mode, but I don't like the robot mode. I'm going to display this guy in Dino mode. I'm not going to use him as a weaponizer. He's just not all that exciting for me. Ultimately, yeah, I mean, you guys have to make that call what you want to do. My opinion, it doesn't matter if you love him. I'm just giving you my thoughts on him. If I had it to do over again and if I was not going to do this review, I would pass on him. He just doesn't really have a place in my collection. And frankly, I'm a little let down by this figure. So I try to make the most out of him, you know, with his flaming mace of justice and his dagger of death. That can be fun, but I'm not going to display him that way. So overall, guys, I would have to put this one as a pass, in my opinion. If you see him and you like what you've seen in the review, well gosh, don't let my opinion stop you from picking him up. But just know going in that I don't think he's anywhere near as much fun as Paleotrex. I don't think he adds that level of playability and fun factor that he does. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up. As I always say in these at the end, I appreciate the support. If you haven't already subscribed to us on YouTube or Rumble, please do so. We're trying to get more content out there. Sometimes our schedule gets busy, but we really do try to get stuff out there at least every other day. And of course, as new figures come out, we're going to be on top of it, bringing that information to you. So be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube or on Rumble. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like. Leave us a comment. Leave us a comment in Rumble as well. And with that, guys, I just want to say thank you. And we'll catch you next time. You guys take care.